Walter Mosley's work has explored the lives of Black men and women in America, past, present, and future. He has had several of his books adapted for film and TV, including Devil in a Blue Dress, Always Outnumbered, Always Outgunned, and Apple TV Plus's production of The Last Day. Mr. Mosley, it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. Welcome to the Color of Conversation.
Well, thank you. Thanks. It's nice to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what inspired you originally to write the book, The Last Days of Ptolemy Grey?
I think going through the deaths of both my parents, my father who had lung cancer that went to his brain and he had kind of dementia from that. And my mother who had another kind of brain thing going on also had dementia. Dealing with it, especially with my mother, learning the kind of the language of it, it felt like an important thing, if you're a writer and you encounter a language, you feel, well, I should make this language available, partially because of, the deep feelings for my parents, and partially because I think, most people in the world and in the history of the world have had to go through this at one time or another.
Yeah. How old were you when that happened originally?
With my parents?
Yes, sir.
I was in my early 40s with my father, and then maybe my late 40s, early 50s with my mother.
Oh, okay. And I understand you started writing, your writing career, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, in your mid 30s? That's
right.
Wow. So it wasn't soon thereafter you started your career that this happened.
Yeah. I think that my first and second book had been published. So that's, I was like 40, 41 when my father, got really sick, and maybe a little bit older. I don't think so though. And then, then my mother's, then another 9-10 years after that.
That must have been tough. I understand Sam had wanted to do this project. Sam Jackson, who was the executive producer and the star of the project. I understand he wanted to do this for a while. How did this project come together?
Well, no, Sam wanted to do it. He called me up and he said, "Walter, I really like to do this, and so we started to talk about it, and he convinced me that he understood what I was doing perfectly well, and I already knew that he was a wonderful actor. So I said, okay, let's get together, let's do it.
Okay, tell our audience what it was like seeing your characters portrayed by this outstanding cast of Ptolemy Grey, starring Mr. Sam Jackson.
Well, it's interesting. I really like it. I mean, listen, if somebody comes up to me today and say, "What do you do?" I would say, "Oh, I'm a novelist." That's what I would say, because what's interesting to me is most interesting thing to me is books. But that said, you can, a lot of things can go wrong when you're making film. All kinds of things, from sound to money to actors to writers, all kinds of stuff. And with this project, everything went right. In front of the camera, behind the camera, very far behind the camera. It was really lovely. Sam has done an extraordinary job of being, a star. And I'm really happy with what he's done. I think that what I intended to do with the novel, I'll probably succeed doing with the film.
Robin, we ran out of the ribs, but we got enough fried chicken. It's $100 the coleslaw, but I can still go to the store, get the Hawaiian punch mix.
Okay, don't worry about that right now. There's somebody I want you to meet. Pitty Papa, this here is my best friend Frida's little girl, Robin. Frida died, so now Robin lives here with me and Haley. Robin, this is my mother's brother, Mr. Ptolemy Grey.
Hi.
Robin. First bird of spring.
She might be coming by to help you out sometime. Ain't that right?
I guess.
You hungry?
Well, I want to see Hilly. I mean Reggie. I want to see Reggie.
Get some in your stomach first, yeah? Then Reggie, yeah? Robin, can you please put the phone down? Take your uncle and go fix him a plate, please.
That is not my uncle. Well, come on.
Sam's portrayal of Ptolemy Grey as a 90-year-old man was outstanding. I mean, he definitely played that role to perfection. Is the way you saw it when you wrote it?
No, film is always different. So I never even have the expectation of seeing what I had written. I think what it was gorgeous. I think his portrayal was beautiful, and did everything that I would have wanted him to succeed at doing. But I have no expectation of seeing a book in a film. And, books are books, films are films, and that's the way that is. But I mean, it's the interpretation which is wonderful. Because an actor is limited by their physicality, by the ability, the technical ability of making films, by the technical ability of the director, of the DP. All of that stuff limits actors, which is what why they're so good. They get around all the limitations. Writing novels, kind of almost it seems that it should be the other way around. Being a writer, you can do anything. Like, for instance, money-wise, we had to end up shooting this show in Atlanta. So instead of this show happening in LA, which I wanted, now it's in Atlanta because that's where we shot it. For a writer, if I wanted to do it, I said, well, listen, I don't want to do this in LA. I'd rather do it on Mars. I can do that because it doesn't cost me any more to do it on Mars as it does to do in LA. And so what's great about what people did in the show was they were able to deal with all the limitations placed on it by money and by technicality.
I enjoyed the juxtaposition of old versus young, if I may say so. There was the character of Ptolemy, and then there was the character of Reggie, played by Omar Miller. I enjoyed that relationship as short as it was. And then there was, we segue into Ptolemy up against Dominique Fishback, who's outstanding as well. Why don't you think that there's more roles for older African-American actors out there?
Well, I think on the whole, there's not a whole bunch of roles for older actors, period, men and women. Most because there's a kind of a youth, what's left over of a youth culture dominating, America at least, and the West most probably. Now, I think Sam doing this role with the people that he was with allowed us, and may allow film itself to stretch further and to experience young and old.
Now, I've seen the first 3 episodes and I enjoyed them thoroughly. I like where it's going. I definitely forward to seeing the next 3 episodes. What can the audience look for in the next 3 episodes that they haven't seen already? I know there's a transformation happening, and what can you elaborate on?
Most things are kind of unexpected. You'll find out what the treasure was that Coy Dog stole. You'll find out how Ptolemy understands how family works and how he's trying to do what's right. You see the conflict between the younger generation, the old generation, and you see that Ptolemy has, in the brief time he's been given, he's done what he wanted to do.
Okay,
that's what you'll find.
Okay, cool. I'm sure. I hope it's getting good feedback, because I really am enjoying it. Now, when you see your films, I know the first project, and it escapes me. I remember Don Cheadle was in it. It's called, just refresh my memory real quick.
Devil in a Blue Dress? Devil
in a Blue Dress, yeah, it's right on the tip of my tongue. I know he was in that. That was a feature film. And obviously, I haven't been personally to the cinema in a while. I mean, I used to go, it was a part of my life. And obviously, we've been going through COVID and things of that nature. Did the COVID situation, does that help a writer? Was that good for you or no?
I mean, well, the interesting thing about COVID, it doesn't impact a writer's life that much, because it's pretty much the life that we've been living anyway. Mm-hmm. You're off on your own writing. staying home. I mean, there's no reason, there's no production is, language,
Right.
Either with pencil and paper or computer and, and a keypad, whatever. So it didn't have much impact on me, except for I'd been working in a writer's room and I didn't have to go in to be in the writer's room anymore. I was very happy about that.
Okay. Now, do you prefer feature film, like going to just see your projects adapted in the cinema, or does it not matter? I know this one's on TV. Does it not matter to you? Well,
feature film, going to the movies is kind of like dating. You know what I mean? It's not like picking up a book and reading it. It's a social thing. So, well, we're gonna go out tonight and we're gonna have some dinner and we're gonna see a film, and then later on, who knows? I mean, that's what movies are about. The other thing is that movies have to be very entertaining. You don't want to go to a movie and get depressed, or even go to a movie and say, I have to think very deeply. This has been the history of film. There's been some great films made, but mostly they're entertainment films. They're comical, or they're horror, or they're something else. The other problem with movies is they can only contain a short story. 90 minutes, 110 minutes of a story. It can only be a short story. Now, that could be a very good short story. I mean, you could be Flannery O'Connor or Mark Twain. You can do a lot in a short story. Most people don't. And so I find it, if I'm trying to tell a big story like Ptolemy Grey, to have 6 hours is much better than having 90 minutes. I think that you can get deeper into the characters, and if you do it well enough, the audience will be interested in that. So right now, doing film, especially streaming, I find better for me. Even though like I said, I'm making a movie right now, and I don't mind doing it, and hopefully it'll work. But it always, I think, is better information-wise to do streaming work.
Well, I think it kind of, you touch more eyes, I think, originally via streaming. I mean, we're still in flux with this whole thing. I hope we do get back to cinema. But it's convenient to see it on your TV, but I enjoy the big screen opportunity.
Well, yeah, but the thing is it going to be the same thing? I mean, the last time, and really, I'm a comic book collector. I've read and collected comic books since I was a little kid. I just actually wrote a comic for Marvel. But the thing is when I go to this is before the pandemic, when I would go to a theater with 12 screens, at least 5 of those screens were comic book movies. Mm-hmm. So it's one thing to say, hey, I want to go to the movies. It's the other thing to say, well, are there good? Are people investing that kind of money in good movies? I find that to be less and less the case. If I get to go see Charles Johnson and Cassavetes and Ingmar Bergman in the movies, I'm happy. But usually that's not what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. No, you're not. You're not seeing that. So when Sam Jackson, he plays kind of like 2 different characters. He's an older man, obviously, and then he's a younger man. I think I'm guessing he was in his 40s or something like that when he was younger. So was there any ever thought of considering maybe having someone else play the younger version, or was it always Sam was going to be the 40-year-old version too?
Yeah, we were always going to do Sam. I mean, certain kinds of actors, Sam, Humphrey Bogart, Wallace Beery, Marilyn Monroe, listen, they're who they are. You can't get somebody else to play them, and believe it. Right.
Yeah, I was just wondering. It was a consideration. I know because he looks great though. He looked great as the 40-year-old version, and he even was that him jogging when he was running like that? Was that him?
I wasn't there. Probably not. But when I watched it, I go, that is such. I wonder if that's Sam.
Yeah.
But that's film magic. Also, the way he looked, a lot of that was, it's animation. So it's the power of film. We can do a lot more nowadays than we one time could.
I kind of saw this movie as somewhat of a buddy film, kind of like a detective whodunit. How would you describe the genre of Ptolemy Grey?
Well, I wouldn't use either of those terms, actually.
Okay.
This is a movie about dealing with age, dealing with the natural infirmity of age, and taking taking the point of view. Usually the point of view about somebody with dementia is people taking care of them and seeing them and feeling bad about it. And what this did is says, no, the point of view is going to be from the person experiencing dementia. That plus generations, the great-grandfather, the grandfather, the father, the son. That's the kind of structure, is to the whole structure of family life, which I think applies to people in general, but also specifically to Black people, seeing that there's never been a Black film like this.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Good deal. So what are some of the challenges that some of the Black, I wouldn't say Black male writers, I'm going to say older people in their 30s encounter when they first get started? What are some of the challenges that they have? There's a lot of writers out there who are probably going to watch this, who are trying to obviously get to where you are or have half the career that you have. So what advice would you give them, and also elaborate on some of the challenges that they may face?
What kind of writers are you talking about here now?
I'm saying
any writer?
Yeah, I'm saying fans of your
writer,
work,
film writer.
Yeah, both film and or fiction.
Yeah, because they're so different. If somebody came up to me and talk about writing, fiction, I just say, well, just write, just keep writing. You write every day. Sooner or later, you're going to make it somewhere. You will. The only way for you to fail is if you stop doing it. Writing film is, it's a very difficult thing. I mean, really, and everybody who gets into it from a different way. For instance, I'm a novel writer. I know people. I write novels. 6 or 7 years ago, John Singleton called me and said, Walter, I'm doing this new show called Snowfall. I want you to be in the room. I said, John, I don't know how to write for television. He said, doesn't matter. You're just going to be an advisor. Come on in the room. I need you there with me. So I came in and I did some advice and whatever. And after a while, I said, well, why don't you write with us? I mean, you could never rely or plan on that, right? It just happened. And so, the idea is know what you want to do, work on it very hard, and especially if it's in film, get to know as many people as you can.
Network.
Yep.
Network heavy. Okay. All right, great. So what are some of the takeaways that the audience should have after watching Ptolemy Grey, The Last Days of Ptolemy Grey?
Well, that's always an easy question for me because I have no expectations of my audience in that way. If they enjoy it, I'm happy. This is, I think it's a serious film. I think, it's a lot of fun because it's Sam. But this is a film about that almost everybody in the world forever has had to deal with. Either you have dementia, somebody has dementia, or both. And because how we deal with it, how we understand it, how we respond to it, I mean, I don't have no expectations. A friend of mine called me. Her mother, right now is experiencing dementia, and she said to me, Walter, I watched your film, and for the first time, I understood where my mother was coming from. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. I don't actually know what it is she understands, but she said it, and I was very happy about that. Because I think everybody takes knowledge and they bring it in. And they come up with their own responses. It's impossible for me to think what those things might be.
Mm-hmm. It was interesting to me, and I don't know if this is a right or wrong thing, and you can clarify for me. It was like when Sam Jackson is, or I should say Ptolemy Grey is having his, I guess you would call them I was calling them night terrors, but he's having them in the day. He's having these visions and things, right? Mm-hmm. So we don't know. You can correct me if when people have dementia, if are they having flashbacks or are they having? So I don't know if that was you just writing, and it's just moving the character along, because obviously he's having visions of the past and trauma. He's visiting trauma and things of that nature. I just thought that was interesting that, when people have a dementia, you don't know what they're thinking or what's going on in their head.
Well, maybe you don't. I was with my mother in a store, and she's having, she's demented, whatever. So she's perceiving the world differently. She sees there's some kind of perfume made by a person named Slotkin. Now, Slotkin is my mother's maiden name. It's the name she got from her father, and her father's name was on it. It said Harry Slotkin, and she looked at it and she says, "Wow, I didn't realize that my father makes perfume now. He didn't tell me about that." So for her, he was still alive. I knew that. And that she was able, when she saw his name, she made these associations in the past, but put them on the present. Now, as a filmmaker, everything you do is a translation, no matter what it is. If you make it a Western or science fiction, you're making a children's thing, you're doing a cartoon, everything is an interpretation. But I think the interpretations have to have a ring of reality. So worrying about, well, does that really happen? You don't ask that about film, because real things don't happen in film. They're all made up.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Yeah, they're all made up.
Yeah.
This is kind of like you tell me again, it's like almost like a second career now for you. Like you accomplished the writing thing, you conquered that mountain, and now it's segued into the world of television and film. How's that been going for you? How's that make you? I know was it expected or unexpected?
Well, it wasn't really expected. I mean, when John asked me to come work on the show, I said, well, maybe I could do something with this, but I didn't know. And it's funny because books never leave me. I just finished writing a novel 2 days ago. And when I look at books now, every time I look at a book, and I say, well, this book is going to be this film or this, series, that means I'm going to sell more books. So like, I haven't left anything. It's just that I've added on to things.
Right, exactly. I love how you just kind of, I just finished the novel the other day. It's just, you just kind of throw it away. It's just so easy, especially having known some writers, they just seem to be struggling so much with their writing, but you and they are like, polar opposites.
I know, it's interesting when you talk to people right now. I was talking to a person one day and I said, so you writing a new book? And they said, oh, Walter, no. I just published a book 3 years ago. And it takes at least 5 years to write a decent book.
Right.
And I'm like, whoa. I didn't even say anything. I didn't know what to say. I went, my God, that's 5 years. That's like a word a day. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just you just kind of you just got the magic pen, I guess. You just kind of can write. That's when did you discover this ability? I know I was reading a little bit about your bio. I guess you did a little corporate work before you became a writer. So what was that? Like, were you in public relations when you were in corporate world, or
no? I was a computer programmer.
Computer programmer, okay.
Yeah, I was a computer programmer for for financial institutions, Mobil Oil, First Bank of Boston, Dean Witter, places like that. It was it was a job.
Right. And then when did the writing, I guess, bug hit you, or was it always there?
No, it wasn't always there. I was in my mid-30s, a little earlier, a little later, I don't know. And I wrote a sentence on hot sticky days in southern Louisiana, the fire ants swarmed. I wrote down that sentence. And I said, well, that's a good sentence. Maybe I could write a book. And I just been writing since then.
Wow. That is a blessing, man. That's amazing. Well, Mr. Mosley, it has been a pleasure speaking with you this morning. Congratulations on the last days of Ptolemy Grey. I'm enjoying it. I'm sure the rest of the world is enjoying it too. And it's been great speaking with you.
It's great talk to you too.
All right.
And all the best there, Floyd.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much for your time.